And we are grateful to be joined now by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. And Governor, we know that you're in Pittsburgh now. I know you started your day in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, of course, commemorating the victims of Flight 93, which crashed there 24 years ago today. So we thank you so much for talking to us in the midst of it all. Sadly, you're a part of that growing list of political leaders who have faced outright violence or threats of it. In April of this year, a man attempted to start a fire at the governor's residence in Pennsylvania while you were home with your family. ABC News got a chance to visit with you in your home in the days after it happened and walk through the burned out remains. With that perspective and context, what was going through your mind when you learned about what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Well, first, look, Lori and I just want to send our prayers to Charlie Kirk's wife and his two children and all the people that loved him. This is yet another example of the sad reality of rising political violence in our country. We have seen this play out all across this great nation, and it needs to end. This violence is leaving scars. It's claiming lives, from Charlie Kirk in Utah yesterday to the former Speaker of the House in Minnesota just about a month or so ago. It leaves physical scars on some, from Congresswoman Giffords to Congressman Scalise. And it leaves emotional scars on others. And my family and I can attest to that. The other thing about this political violence is it doesn't just impact those who are the targets. It makes us all less safe. It creates more chaos in our communities, and it makes it harder for us as a nation to make progress. Everyone is less safe as the political violence rises in our nation, and it needs to end, and it needs to end now.
How do we go about doing that? I mean, of course, you, along with leaders of both parties, have been unequivocal in condemning the attacks. Have you gotten a chance to speak with Republican counterparts about ways to transcend the political divide and figure out, which I think is the key question, how to turn the temperature down across the country?
Yeah. You know, I have spoken just in the last 24 hours with Republican leaders and Democratic leaders. And, you know, I would tell you, I don't think one political party can answer this. And by the way, the political violence isn't just being done to or done by one political side or the other. This impacts everyone. It has targeted Democrats. It has targeted Republicans. Here in Pennsylvania, it's targeted me, a Democratic governor, and a Republican president in Butler, Pennsylvania. So this transcends party lines. And I think the way we address this is for all leaders to speak and act with moral clarity, to condemn the violence no matter who's perpetrating it or no matter what their rationale is for perpetrating it. We have to be better than this. And we can't use this latest example of political violence in Utah yesterday to now be a pretext for more violence. We can't have this rhetoric of rage take over, this rhetoric of revenge take over. Instead, we need words of healing, and we need words of healing from Democrats and Republicans, people at the federal level, state level, people who just walk in our communities every day, who give a damn about this nation. We all need to do better. We all need to rise above this moment of violence here, and we need to seek peace, and we need to seek calm, and we need to seek comfort for our fellow Americans.
And President Trump, of course, reacted to the shooting last night and said this in part.
From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
Now, of course, he didn't mention you or any of the attacks in recent months against Democrats, including the killing of Minnesota state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband. What's your response to that?
I think it is dangerous when the president cherry picks which political violence he's going to condemn and which he's going to allow to just simply pass. I think we need to be universal in condemning all political violence. I think that's a responsibility of all elected officials, Republicans and Democrats. We cannot allow any political violence to be viewed as acceptable. And as I said before, this has targeted Democrats and Republicans, people on the political left and people on the political right, and we need to universally condemn it. The president missed the mark last night in his Oval Office address. He should be condemning all political violence.
Some House Republicans in the past 24 hours have started to blame Democrats directly for what happened. There have been people on the left on social media who've reacted gleefully to Kirk's death. What's your response to that?
I think some of the rhetoric I've seen online is just dark and it is dangerous. The talk of revenge is only going to make us less safe. The talk of celebrating this man's death, no matter how profound a disagreement over a policy should be, he left behind a wife and 2 children. No one should be celebrating that. No one. I think that kind of rhetoric is unhelpful on every level.
Kirk was, of course, on the first stop of a planned nationwide tour of college campuses and was killed while sitting under a tent that read, "Prove me wrong," and while engaging in debate about his ideas with those who agree and also disagree with him. Is the idea that one can participate in politics without fear of retribution or violence at risk in this country?
I think that the strength of this great nation has been that over the last 249 years, by the way, it all started right here in Pennsylvania, that the growth of this nation, the perfecting of our union, has come from civil debate. It's come from civil discourse. It's been from people meeting in town halls and town squares and arguing out their differences. We need more speech in this country, not less. We need to reduce the violence and create opportunities for people to have dialogue, even people who disagree. It should come as no surprise to you or your viewers. I had profound differences from Charlie Kirk's view of the world. He probably had profound differences from my view of the world. But we need more dialogue in this country, not less. And what we certainly don't need is the kind of dark rhetoric I have heard since the killing of Charlie Kirk. Dark rhetoric either celebrating his death or dark rhetoric calling for vengeance against our fellow Americans. That is not what we need. We need civil discourse in this nation.
It's been roughly 5 months since the attack on your home in Pennsylvania. Do you continue to be worried about your own safety?
Well, look, my family and I are blessed to have the Pennsylvania State Police with us as we go about this work in service to others here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I am more focused and determined than ever before to do my work as governor of this Commonwealth. I worry about my fellow Pennsylvanians. I worry about all Americans and what happens if we don't curtail the level of political violence that we are seeing. It makes us all less safe. It makes it harder to achieve the things that we all want to achieve in this nation. It makes it harder for us to make progress if this type of political violence can take root in this country.
Taking a step back, what do you think ordinary people in this country who see the violence happening to Americans across the political spectrum, what can they do? They may be feeling helpless in this moment and looking for some real leadership to help guide and comfort.
Yeah. I think every single American has agency. They are not helpless. It starts with their own conduct. I said before that leaders have a responsibility to speak and act with moral clarity. So does every American. We need to make sure that whether it's posting online or engaging in a conversation with others, that every American is speaking in a civil tone, even if we disagree on policy. It's okay to disagree on policy. That's the American way. That's how we make progress. But we have to do so in a way that is civil. We have to focus our engagement with our fellow Americans in a way that doesn't just discount someone just because they disagree with us on an issue. We have to find ways to communicate, to come together. That's the kind of work I try and do every day. I try and bring Pennsylvanians together to get stuff done. We've been successful at that here in our Commonwealth. We need to do more of that across this great nation.
Once again, Governor Shapiro, we thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate you on this challenging day with 9/11, which claimed so many lives here in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and of course, still reeling from another deadly act of political violence. So thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.